That's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me. You can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky. Come get high with me. That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
So they want me down and out. Ay, we ain't going out like that. We ain't going out like that. Watch me go and bounce right back. Down for the count, but the hound strike back.
Here we are again, another episode of the Whole Brother Live podcast. Thank you for bearing with me. Last week had to call an audible, but we had some content put up for you. I know there were some technical difficulties, but it's up and running. And thank you for tuning in again. So today, new episode, live and in color. And I want to delve into something that I think all of you will find interesting. Uh, I know, unfortunately, again, no questions today. You know, this is it's a very fluid podcast, right? It'll be some questions sometimes. It might be a video that you haven't seen. It might be an event you haven't seen. It might be a relevant topic from the week in the news, or it might be something really nebulous or abstract or unexpected or shocking or interesting. You never know what you're going to get. So at least I keep you on your toes, right? So I'm gonna delve in pretty deep on a particular topic today, and I'm gonna kind of do this one from the hip. I didn't necessarily know what I would cover today. I wasn't planning to do this, but then it hit me shortly before, like this is something to kind of delve into. It's a video that I saw someone else do on social media and had already had some thoughts about, but the video I saw days ago, but then today I saw that the person that made the video did a follow up and they kind of touched on some things that I was already going to address. So we're dealing with male heartbreak today. And that's part of what the video from Twitter, aka Hell/X, the video was talking about. The guy was saying nobody talks about male heartbreak. And even though I talk about it a lot, I do know that it's something that doesn't come up a lot. Male heartbreak, how men get over breakups, and so on and so forth, and heal from hurtful romantic relationships. And I do think it's important to have this conversation because, again, as the person will say, a lot of us don't talk about it. You don't hear about it. And oftentimes, women do have a level of support after they have a breakup or a heartbreak. They rally around each other, they talk through it, they cry together, they buy ice cream or chocolate or candy. And for a lot of men, it's either suffer in silence or you have homeboys that tell you, find someone else to sleep with. Even if it's a casual encounter, let's go to the bar, let's get drunk, get high. It's typically distractions to deal with the stressor or the hurt, and it's not anything that's really helping you to heal. Now, this isn't everybody. I'm just speaking to what is common for a lot of people, a lot of men of a variety of ages. And I think this applies to a lot of different areas of life, but for a lot of men, we don't have peers or other men with good sense around us. People have friends that they have a shared common interest with. It might be sports, it might be we were in college together. But I've even joked with other guys about how we know not to go to certain people for advice. Like you're good for a laugh, such and such. Trey, he's funny. He'll keep us laughing. John always knows the cool spots in any given city. Such and such got money, and such always got problems. But oftentimes, even with these friendships, and in many cases, sometimes they're very surface level, they're relationships based for a specific purpose, and oftentimes that does not include bringing grief, frustration, hurt, or pain to them. And in reality, for many men, if they do talk about the pain, the emotional pain they're going through, because I would say we all go through it, it's just a matter of whether we acknowledge it or talk about it. For many of us, we either don't acknowledge it or talk about it, but if we do, we tend to go to a woman in our life. And if it's not our romantic partner, wife or girlfriend, it's mom, aunt, female cousin. Because in many cases, women, I would say, culturally kind of have more of a welcoming posture. empathy. And I think that just goes back to them having community amongst themselves so they know how to show up for other people. Whereas we don't really have that. So if things get too deep amongst men or too emotional, folks get nervous. Somebody got to crack a joke because it's too deep, too serious, or really, sometimes people can't go to an emotional place with you that they haven't been on their own. So it's really hard for us to deal with some of these things, and men don't heal well from breakups for that reason. So this is going to be an important conversation because there's also this other layer of men not healing from breakups isn't just a personal thing. It doesn't only affect them, it affects everyone in their life, whether they know it or not. Namely, in this video I'm going to share, and I know I feel like I'm belaboring the point, but I want to set the video up and then play it and then go in a little bit after. But there's this other piece where a lot of times our assumption is my business is my business. So if I have a bad breakup with my girl, that's between me and her, and after she gone, it's just between me. I'm going through this alone, and if I'm suppressing the hurt or distracting myself, I might assume I'm doing a good job and it's not showing up. But typically, people that are close to us can see when something's wrong or be affected by it. And in particular, it can show up in the long run. I'm getting at there are many men who go through a stressful situation with a ex or a previous woman that they dealt with, and what they end up doing is faulting or hurting or exacting punishment on the future women that they deal with. So what she did, I can't get her back for, but the rest of you women are going to get the worst of me because of it. And although that may sound juvenile or ignorant, it is the reality for a lot of guys. Future women will pay for what previous women did to me. That's the reality of the situation. So it's very important for women to know who they're dealing with. But I'm saying it's important for men to deal with these things so that you don't ruin your future. I can speak to this. I know several men that had negative experiences, developed a negative disposition about women, assumed that they can never find a quote good woman, and they may meet a quote good woman, but they're unable to see it because they're so jaded from what happened to them before. They haven't healed, so they see everything through the lens of what happened with the other person. Or they see women through these prejudgments that they've already made. The woman could be the nicest woman on earth, but the prejudice that you have toward women because of your previous negative situations will cause you to turn her niceness into something with an ulterior motive. She must want something out of me. She ain't just being nice because she's genuinely nice. There got to be something else to it, right? It's finding the negative in a lot of things or tying it back to what's familiar, which is the hurt and the pain. And the other side of that is there are so many men who will readily admit, I lost a good one. I lost a good one because of how I was behaving, how I was viewing, how I was not taking care of myself, how I projected my insecurities onto her. And I squandered it. I had a great situation and I ruined it. And there are many men that, in addition to living long term with the hurt of a previous breakup, they then end up living long term with the hurt of losing what they considered to be a good woman. So this is layered. There's a lot to be covered here, but here's the initial video. I'll give a little bit of commentary after this one. It's short, it's 3 minutes, and then I'll play for you the follow up because I had some initial thoughts, and it turns out that his follow up touched on what I was thinking about his original video. But here's the original.
And you spin the block. Never spin the block on the man you did wrong. Right. Why? Because men don't get over shit. Men do not get over heartbreak, okay? They don't. They still be holding on to a heartbreak they had when they was 11 years old, and they take it out on women all the way up into their adulthood. Okay. If you do a man wrong and you spin the block on him to get back with him, trust and believe he finna take you down through there. This nigga finna give you the ride of your motherfucking life. And you know what? She's 100% correct, but it's not for the reasons that women usually think. And I think that's because no one talks about male heartbreak. No one talks about it in depth. You just hear about it, and he either has to get over it or, like,
go through a transformation in the gym. No one talks about what it feels like to get your heart broken as a man. It is quite literally worse than death. That's why a lot of guys end up shmoo kidal. You know what I'm saying? Shmoo is you know what I'm saying? So let's talk about this. The reason guys get their lick back so hard after they've been done wrong by a woman that they were in love with isn't because they're just so evil and mean and they just want their lick back so bad. That might be a small part of it. But genuinely, when a man is in love with a woman, we do all kinds of stupid shit. Pay all her bills even though she works. Be ready to crash out at any moment if she points at a man that says something to her. You ready to lay it all on the line. Hey, trust me, I know. You be worshiping the ground she walk on. You change your whole personality just to make her feel safer and more secure. You know, just to find out she been doing you dirty. The reason that guys get their lick back so bad on those women specifically isn't because they are having an evil moment. It's because she simply isn't his little angel anymore. When a man is truly delusional about a woman and like really deeply in love, that is his little angel. She can do no wrong. He's thought his brain past all of her, discrepancies in the past that he knew about, all the guys, all this, that, and the third. He has tricked himself into thinking this woman is perfect for me and I will do anything for her just to open his eyes and go, oh, she was fucking cheating? So his true self comes out. He's not really that in love with you anymore. And I hate to make it sound so frank, but genuinely, when you're in love, and it's really easy not to cheat on your woman when you love her. It's really easy not to let your anger boil over on your woman when you love her. You can put pure delusion through your brain on a daily basis when it comes to your woman because you love her. When you fall out of love with her, all of the stupid shit that you were doing just goes by the wayside. Now y'all get back together and little mama hit you up, tell me, let me suck it. You go, ah shit, yeah, cool. Cause what's the worst that happens? This girl who cheated on me and I took back gonna leave me? You understand? It's not because he's just weighing, the good and bad. It's not because he hates you so much now. Again, that might be part of it for some guys, but I'm telling you from experience, it's a lot harder to stay faithful after you realize your woman wasn't. Genuinely, it's so hard. When she says she wants something, you don't feel like you gotta hustle to get it. You're like, I get it when I get it. If not, not. You don't feel like keeping your word. You don't feel like nothing. That's why it's best to just leave those women alone. When a man is truly heartbroken over a woman, like, this was his girl, he got done wrong, all of that delusion just fades away. And she just becomes another girl.
So he used the word delusion a lot, right? But he also jumped in between delusion and love. And initially, my thoughts were, although this is being framed as being madly in love with this woman, it actually is a level of delusion. And here's the thing. Uh, I wouldn't say that folks are falling in love and then falling out of love. They're getting delusional and then they're coming back to reality. They're coming back to reality that this person isn't perfect and that some of this was what I would call idolatry. And he gets to that in the next one, but we'll get to the idolatry in a minute. But I do think that oftentimes we talk about how women have watched all these movies about these love stories and read these novels about love. A lot of women, black and white, love The Notebook. Women, we say, have a romanticized view of what love would look like. But I will say there are men that have that same overly romanticized view that's not as balanced as it should be. Um, Let me talk about different archetypes of men. I'm about to be very reductionistic, but it's just for the sake of not trailing off of the main topic today. I would say most guys kind of start off in the green, open to relationships and love at a super young age, as just a little boy, before the world taints you. You're innocent. And for the sake of today's conversation, we go one of two ways. We go one way, think about Future's lyrics. Guys that deal with women in a transactional way, not get emotionally involved, not trying to be in love, not trying to get married, So I'm just going to deal with you in a transactional, casual way and keep emotional distance. It's very sex driven, very lust driven, very um, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. What are you doing for me? These men don't genuinely like these women typically, but they like how they look. They like how they perform in the bedroom. So there are men who cut off this romanticism aspect in terms of how they deal with women and they choose to just keep it casual. Then there are others who are still actively open to deep romantic connection with women. They want to be in relationships. These are the guys that I think fall into the category of this video. Guys that actually are open to love. Now, you might think that the future guys that I described are the bad guys and that the guys that are open to love are the good guys, but that's not necessarily true. Both of them have very potentially negative traits. And that's kind of obvious for the future guys because they think that that's what they want leading with sex, but in many cases, they do want true intimacy and never get it because of fear of the vulnerability that comes with that. They get a lot older and don't learn how to actually emotionally connect to a woman because you got so used to rotating F buddies. But the other side of this is the guys that are open to actual quote love. These might be the church boys, the guys that grew up in church, the guys that love their mom, the mama's boys, the guys that grew up in a two-parent home and they saw their parents madly in love. They still have hope for that or want that. But the other side of it is it's important to have your identity in check because what can happen is you're looking for a woman to complete you. I have thought several times about doing these short video series on R&B music or really any music, but just how music teaches us incorrectly. But I think about certain R&B songs that have lyrics that cause us to deify or put people on pedestals or create an idea about relationships that isn't realistic. Right now, I'm thinking of Mary J. Blige's, and I know she wasn't the first to make it, but "You Are Everything and Everything Is You," um, or even when she and Not Gonna Cry. I would stop breathing if you told me to. uh, or I can go on, and there's men that have made some created toxic dynamics in their quote love music too. But there are people that go into this relationship thing thinking that this person has to be their everything and is going to complete them. And while that sounds cute and that might be really nice in vows, it's not realistic and it's not helpful. And I would say for men, it's really important to establish who you are as an individual, be happy with your life, and then add a woman to that that loves you as a complement to an already happy and good life. Not using women as the fix or the cure all for a broken, insecure life or person or man. And many of us, even if we grew up in a two-parent household, even if you were the church boy, you're so open to love, but in reality, there's a level of codependence going on. There's a level of external validation going on where I need this to feel good about me. So we say it's love because I don't want her to talk to nobody else. I can't imagine breaking up. I don't even want to think about it. Um, Sometimes the anxious attachment or the anxiety that comes from experiencing difficulty with this person or being disconnected from them, we think that intensity means that we love deeply. But in many cases, those aspects are actually pointing to deep rooted insecurity. That insecurity causes us to seek out other things to validate us to help feel secure in who we are. Thus, the term idolatry comes in. Now, when I first heard idolatry, I was in church, grew up Christian in church, and idolatry was when you were letting something other than capital G God sit on God's throne. Something or somebody became more important to you than God, the Creator. And in many ways, this idolatry has its place in how we do romance. Women are an idol for many men. And what happens is when that idol disappoints you, when that God disappoints you, and you realize it's not perfect, you are disappointed and you don't know what to do with yourself. But that's not because women are so flawed, it's because you put a woman in a place that she shouldn't have been. Imagine, for those of you who are Christian or whatever religion, if your deity suddenly was no longer uh, a deity or fallible or found out that it was just as mortal as you. That would be an existential crisis. And for many men, that's what's happening. I thought this was going to be my sugar plum, my cinnamon apple, and she hurt me. But it's not just a human making a mistake or me, being in the wrong relationship. It's the one who I thought would complete me is now gone. So now what do I do? And that's why you might not have understood, but the guy in the video was referring to that's why guys get suicidal. Guys go through a breakup and then don't even want to live no more because everything was tied up in this woman. And I believe in marriage. I believe it's a covenant that God has established, and it can be a very beautiful thing. But I also believe at the same time, many of us don't understand all that goes into coexisting with a person for the rest of your life. And we just want the instant gratification of somebody always being around that thinks that we're cute and will have sex with us. That's what many of us that go into marriage and dating actually want. I like having a 24/7 around the clock person that will sleep with me and that I know thinks I look good or that likes me. I just need that constant reassurance. It's not really about investing in the other person, supporting the other person, building them up, or working through difficulties with them because they're not always going to be at their best. It's not really about that. It's about I like the idea of having someone around to make me feel good about me. But the issue is women are not products to be exhausted. They're humans. So they're not always going to be your biggest cheerleader. When the period comes on, she's going to be a different person. And then when she stops having her period and she stops having hot flashes, she's going to be a different person. So you got to be prepared to navigate through all of that. The whole person, not just the aspects that make you feel good about you. But again, if the purpose or the source of this is you getting an ego boost, then you're really going to be crushed when she's not perfect or when she makes a mistake. I'm not making excuses for cheating or a woman treating you horrible, but I do think rather than zooming in on the aspects of a quote horrible woman or a woman that behaved badly, I'm zooming in on the impact for you as a man might not be as severe if you were putting relationships in their proper place, which should be a supplement to an already happy life, not the cure all for it. You are my everything. Nah, she can't be. That's not good for you. That's not good for your children. You can love someone deeply without them having to be your everything. One prime example of I see that going wrong is women that have social lives and friend groups. They get married and they have time for romance and date night and sex and traveling with their husband, but they also have friends and they have elders that they support. They have all these different relationships that they recognize are important and they're investing in all of them. But the guy, since the woman was his cure all for everything, he was just focused on getting married and dating. And he abandoned all his other relationships. So while she's juggling different relationships because she understands they all have a purpose, he's sitting at home upset because she has a social life and he doesn't, because she is his everything. And that's his fault for putting her on that pedestal. And then when idols show you that they're not true gods, they disappoint you and they crush you. He already went in this direction. This is what the gentleman said in a follow-up video to his original video. He was just kind of thinking out loud, and these are some of the points that he hit on because someone commented back.
Especially if they're promise I got the best followers on this whole platform. because promise I got the best followers on this whole platform because nigga, I done had an epiphany. This a good comment, bro.
And the comment is that type of love, they kind of messed up here. That type of love be idolatry. I can't do that again.
That again. Let me ask a question though, because this is what I just went through in my brain. Is that even love? I think a lot of guys fall into a deep state of infatuation and never exit it so long as she don't fuck up. That's what happens a lot of times to these provider men who go to work and complain about their wives all day. In the beginning, probably the first 5 years, she was perfect, did everything perfect. He was like, girl, I love you so much. You know, fuck it. You ain't got to go to work no more. I'll make you a housewife. But the ladies who don't understand, most men, I would probably say all men, especially if they're regular and they're making it work monetarily to provide for you, they don't want to provide. They want you to feel a certain way about them because they're trying to show you how they feel about you. Men aren't really good at expressing all those emotions out of their mouth, so he's like, girl, I'll pay all your fucking bills every month. Watch this. And then that woman fuck up, but y'all already locked into life. She ain't worked in 5 years. You've locked into signing all these bills you signed up for. This relationship just ain't it. She done got caught cheating, or she had a baby 5 years ago, still blaming that fat on the baby. It could be a lot of things, honestly. But that strong infatuation that men can exist in for life. You do understand that, like, some men happily provide and do any and everything their entire lives because they've never really truly seen their woman outside of the light of this idol that they've created in their brains of her. And I don't think a lot of women understand that. Like, men, I don't even know if you call that love. Maybe it's love. Men fall in love so fucking hard. And truly, I think men have maybe 1 or 2 times to genuinely fall in love before it's gone. Because man, I remember the first time I went through a bout of depression. I was 16. I was like, wow. Somebody in the comment section said it took me 6 months to smile again. That's such a funny statement because as a 16-year-old, I was 17 by the next time I smiled after that. And I remembered it like a genuine smile. Like I chuckled and laughed and I was like, huh. I haven't felt like that in a while. I genuinely remember it. And so I'm saying all that to say this. Fellas, we gotta do better with the women we fall in love with. Like, you'll tell a woman to pick better all the time, but like, fellas, you gotta do better too. Stop falling into infatuation so fast. I think that men fall into infatuation first and then start trying to check. After that, bro, you can't check her. You're already so deeply involved with this woman and your brain and the chemicals in your head. Even if you see some bad shit, you gonna justify it. Damn. I want to make a long form video about this on the Red app.
So, the idolatry, the obsession, the things that kind of derail these relationships, but they feel cute at the beginning. And the other side of this is women like it. They like the infatuation, but it is ultimately unhealthy. There's a way to love someone. There's a way to treat them like the love of your life, a very special individual. I don't want to discount all the cutesy stuff that you like, but there has to be a line here, especially if it's early. A lot of times this infatuation and this depression and these suicidal thoughts and all these things related to these relationships, I'm not even talking about 20-year marriages ending. I'm talking about like what he just said, 16 years old in high school going into the relationship on 10. Y'all not even officially girlfriend and boyfriend, and she do something that hurts you, and now you 26 not texting. You just got a text from the woman you talking to at 26. You read it and you take 4 hours to reply to it on purpose because you don't want to seem thirsty. Because when you were 16, you were so in love and she was actually talking to someone else. So now you try to play it cool like you ain't that interested. I ain't tripping. I'm chilling. Defense mechanisms while you're pushing 30 because you still haven't processed through a relationship that you went through at 16 where you went in on 10 with someone you barely knew because you were so happy to have someone around to give you access to sex and that you already know thinks that you're cute too. Something I pointed out before is I do think that a trend that I've noticed is there is a level of urgency for romantic relationships for younger and older men. The urgency is there more for guys that came from broken homes, guys that had homes where both the parents were there but they had a toxic marriage, guys that had fathers that were present but emotionally distant, guys that had mothers with sharp tongues. Those guys tend to have an urgency to be in a relationship. They will not stay still single for too long. They're going to keep trying to find another one. Whereas I've noticed that guys that have a healthier family dynamic, a sense of identity and self, while they may want relationships, they want the right one. They don't want to have 16 exes. So they're willing to wait for the right situation to set up this loving future. Whereas the other guys, instant gratification, I need it right now. And the reality is, both of them want relationships, but the reason that they want them are different. The guys that typically have the healthy dynamic, they understand what a healthy dynamic looks like. So they know that that has to be built and prepared for and may be rare. So they wait or they walk away from situations that they realize a couple months in this isn't the right type of situation. Sex doesn't keep them around. Whereas these other guys who were so desperate just to feel something, they keep a girlfriend, they don't stay single too long, and they stay in situations with women who have already demonstrated that they have bad character because of the desperation just to have something. And these things never get checked because a lot of times the assumption is, for both examples of the men that I gave, the assumption is this is just normal behavior for a straight man. So we never actually check it to say, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. There exists a reality that maybe you shouldn't be dating right now. But for many men, the assumption is if I wanted sex or if I see someone that I want, then I'm ready to date without any thought given to what it takes to maintain a relationship with someone, to coexist with someone. The baseline for a lot of men is if I want to have sex with this person, then I'm ready for a relationship with this person without any consideration for what it takes to maintain a relationship. And yes, there's a such thing as a casual relationship too. So even if y'all aren't considered boyfriend and girlfriend, fiancés, or married, you can have a casual relationship or F buddies where you're still maintaining some type of contact with this person to have these encounters. That is still a form of relationship. And many times those fizzle out too because we end up treating people like trash or less than when we just want them to come around when it's time for some wrestling, I'll say. So it is really important for us to pause for a moment and say, do I just love love as a man? Am I a relationship guy? Or am I desperate for constant validation? Am I insecure? And that could be why it crushes me when things don't work out because, as quiet as it's kept, it is very possible to have a healthy breakup. It's possible for two adults to be dating, have the necessary conversations, and come to the conclusion that we're not aligned, so we're not going to do this, and go their separate ways respectfully. It don't have to be this big, ugly, nasty situation, but it's this big, ugly, nasty situation when you're dealing with women that have bad character but perform well in the bedroom. So you stick around and keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and you're getting more and more traumatized the longer you stay in this relationship. You end up putting up with things that you never thought you would put up with. And then by the time it's over, you don't even recognize who you are. But again, you didn't force it to work. You didn't stay around because you love love. No, no, no. You stayed around because you lack boundaries. You weren't self preserving. You were desperate to feel wanted. That has nothing to do with being straight and just loving women. That is called brokenness. So I think that for us to heal these areas, we have to first acknowledge this isn't just a normal straight male behavior. There are many layers to this that point to brokenness that needs healing. So when we talk about growing in these areas, I can categorize it two ways. There's the healing work, and then there's the growth work. Healing is going back and working on what was broken, your past, how you were hurt uh, by what happened to you. Many times you have to do the healing work first to then be prepared to grow. Think of a torn muscle. You tear your calf muscle, you don't need to go trying to do squats. You need to heal that calf muscle first. Once it's healed and ready to be used again, then you can grow it and start doing some leg presses and some squats and whatever. And I think I might have messed that up. Those exercises might work the thigh muscle, but you get the point. So, and the glutes. But all this to say that we have to change our mindset as it relates to readiness for relationships. Readiness can't just be, I want to smash. Also, we also have to recognize that urgency, desperation around being in a relationship has nothing to do with your desire or ability to love someone properly. In many cases, that has everything to do with your unmet needs as a child at home. In many cases, that has everything to do with identity issues. For many men, it's I don't like me. I don't like me, but she likes me, so let me keep her around. And there's some sex too. That's the crux of a lot of relationships. I don't like this situation. I don't like how I feel. I don't like my life. But you know what? At least I got some, as the young folks say, some fine shit over here. Can't believe I said young folks. I'm only 31. But that's how they talk. That's the mentality. And I say that so that you understand that in many cases we are driven by what's attractive. And that's not just a young people thing, that's an old people thing too. 40, 50, 60 still don't know how to coexist with an adult, still not happy with your own life, still using people to give you a hit of happiness for the weekend. Then you go back to being discontent with your own life. So we have to learn how to coexist with other people, but we also have to work on ourselves. I personally would say that you probably should not get into a relationship if your life is a wreck. If you don't like you for whatever reason, that's important to work on that before you bring someone else into your situation. This is why a while ago I had to do an episode called Black Women Are Not Rehabilitation Centers for Black Men. We want these women to come in and fix us. And when they take the doctor's jacket off, when they have a bad day, when they make a mistake, we lose our minds. But it's not because women are so horrible, and it's not because that act was so egregious. Sometimes it is. But in many cases, the severe reactions that we have to the hurts that women have caused us are due to us first idolizing them. And we might not have had such a severe reaction if we had women in their proper place, which I would say should be a supplement to an already happy life, and platonic relationships with women. You sitting here focused on getting in a romantic relationship, cutting off all women who friend zoned you because that doesn't have the opportunity for sex anymore. So you don't have any female friends. So all the eggs are in the basket of this one woman. But I believe that having platonic female friends would help this process a lot more. Investing in your male friends and having a sense of support and people valuing you for other, qualities matters. Um, And then all those other relationships like cousins and moms and aunts and uncles and dad and mom, all those other relationships, assuming y'all are pro monogamy, you only gonna be dating or married to one person. But then you got all these other people. All those other relationships matter too, so that you're not putting the weight of the world on your romantic partner. I'll say it again. All of your other non-romantic relationships matter too, so that you're not putting the weight of the world on your romantic partner, because that will crush them. And then you end up upset because they didn't perform properly. And that is the problem when we treat women like products. If I go to Walmart and I buy a 24 pack of bottled water, I open it up and I find that four of the bottles actually have no water in them, I'm upset because I paid for water. My product is defective. That's fine. That's a fine point of view when it comes to buying a product, but so many of us look at women the same way. I bought woman. Woman's supposed to make me feel good. You not make me feel good. You not give me sex. And that ends up being the approach. And that's all wrong because they're humans. They bring so many different layers to the table, just as we do. So, again, idolizing women also dehumanizes them. So, we have to look at romantic relationships in the proper context as well so that we can navigate through the complexities and difficulties that come with that. We got to take the good with the bad. That's all I got for you today. If any of this rang a bell, sounded relevant, I'd encourage you to work through it. Work through it in a counseling session. You can work with me, atwbm.com, book a session, or someone else. Email us info@wholebrothermission.com. The website's wholebrothermission.com. Work with me, work with someone else. Just work through it. That's what we want ultimately. But I thank you for your time today. And last thing I'll say is, if you're not ready to hop into a session yet, I'll say again, for the men, these aren't just new thoughts. That's why I'm able to kind of just shoot from the hip in terms of talking about these things. These aren't just new thoughts. These are things I've studied, read about, talked about, written about for a while. So if you're not ready to jump into a session yet, consider my first book, Whole Brother, Debunking the Myths That Break the Black Family. It deals with misconceived notions about masculinity and relationships and mental health that end up hindering all of our relationships as black men. That's kind of a primer, a starting point to kind of open up these conversations and just see where that takes you. You can get it on Amazon, but also from us directly. We'd appreciate it if you get it from us directly at wholebrothermission.com. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you next week.